Welcome to ViviTalks. I'm Vivienne Aerts. Join me in celebrating 100 talented female musicians from my last album, Typuhthâng, empowering female cacao farmers in Congo's Virunga State Park and restoring the rainforest. Delve into the musical journeys, creative processes, and unique perspectives of these talented women that were involved in the making of this album. Today I'm talking to Esin Aydingoz, Turkish composer, conductor, and board member for Alliance for Women Film Composers, specializing in scoring for film, TV, and games. Listen to our conversation as we talk about how she got into composing and conducting. We talk about her move to LA, back to Boston, and back to LA, and her work for Disney Pixar. Esin Aydingoz is a Turkish composer based in Los Angeles. She graduated summa cum laude from Berklee College of Music and has composed, arranged, orchestrated for a wide array of projects including animations, silent films, documentaries, TV series, video games, and musicals, most of which have screened at festivals around the world. Scoring works aside, Esin is also a professional pianist and music director. She arranged, produced, and recorded for various Disney albums and concerts, as well as being the assistant music director for the a cappella sensation, D Cappella. Welcome to my official podcast. It's called ViviTalks, and it's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you
Esin,
so much.
we know each other from way back at
Yep,
Berkeley. It must have been like 2012 or 13.
that's when I
Yeah,
came. I started 2012, and I think
yeah,
we met weren't you at Umbria Jazz Clinics in
that's right.
2018?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though I was a full-time student, I attended that because I won a songwriting contest in high school and the
Uh,
prize was going there. So I came anyways, and I'm so glad I
yes.
did.
Oh man,
So
that
yeah,
festival is my favorite. Yeah.
going
I need to
11
find a
years.
way to get back to Italy. Maybe
Yes,
summer.
you should.
Yeah. So, love to learn a little bit about your background, where you're from, what do you do, what's happening, how did you get where you are now? Which is a very long, because I know you have a lot but yeah, go ahead.
Well, cut me if I get boring. But I'm from Istanbul, Turkey, and I was there my whole life until it was college time. I started playing piano when I was 4 years old. I was always into classical performance and musical theater. So kind of did both as a child. But never really wanted to think of music as a career because even
Mhm.
though I loved the fun part of it, I didn't necessarily like practicing or studying. But then when I was 13 years old, my best friend, who started playing piano after me, wrote a song. And my stupid teenager brain went, oh, like if she can write a song, I can write a symphony. Simply because I was playing piano for like 3 more years than she was. So then I write a song. And then all of my friends and relatives and whomever I showed my music, they kept telling me, oh, like this sounds like film music. And I don't know, suddenly music became my escape from everything else. And I really, really like fell in love with composing. And also at that time, so I was in high school, we were studying literature and we found this concept of Alfred de Musset, which is making pearls from tears, which I really like resonated with because I thought it was so beautiful that you can put your pain into art and then that pain that becomes art is so valuable as a pearl. So like whenever I got angry at life or like had a breakup or I don't know, whatever made me sad, I put it in music and it really made me feel better. So yeah, like then I started looking into schools that would teach me film music. And in Turkey, we didn't have an option. So I found Berklee College of Music. I did a summer program there in 2010. It was for 5 weeks. I'm sure you know about it. Uh,
Mhm.
and I completely fell in love with Berklee because it was so different than the conservatory culture in Turkey, where like you have to play in a way that the pieces were being played the past like centuries. And even though it's beautiful, like it's not the same as adding your own. So then I wanted to study at Berklee. Thankfully, I got in. I came in 2012. And I did a double major and a minor. So the majors were film scoring and contemporary writing and production, and the minor was musical theater writing. I was there for 5 years, the best 5 years of my life. Never wanted to leave. And then like the rest of our film scoring department, we all like came immigrated to Los Angeles. So at first it was a lot of internships, teaching a little bit, and then working in community theaters, doing music directing and accompanying stuff. But then I initially started getting my own little short films and student films and trying to make a name for myself where I'm in projects as music by Esin Aydingoz. But in the meantime, I would also be like assisting bigger composers. Sometimes they would need notation, sometimes orchestration. So I kind of like juggled a lot for 3 years. And then the pandemic hit. And I wanted to spend more time with my parents because I'm an only child. So we like missed each other and we're like, let's quarantine together. So I went back to Turkey thinking that it would be for 2 months. It ended up being 2 full years. And weirdly, the pandemic didn't affect my career negatively because I was so social and always like going to places and not always working while I was in LA. Like it was partially networking and having fun, and partially like observing other musicians doing their thing, and partially me doing my thing. And when the
Mm.
pandemic hit, I started doing my thing 24/7 from my bedroom. Because like animation continued, video games continued, I could write concert music. Like I didn't have to wait for films to be made to be creative. And because I had the connections, I always started getting more calls on assisting other people and started doing additional music for bigger composers. Uh,
Mm.
and then right when I was going to come back to LA, I got a job offer from Berklee College of Music to be well, I applied for it, so I don't know if it's a job offer, to be the assistant chair of the film scoring department. So I relocated to Boston for 13 months.
So
Uh,
instead of going straight back to LA, you
yes,
moved to
exactly.
Boston. Okay.
hmm
Wow.
And then I got an offer from Disney Concerts to go on tour to conduct Disney Pixar's Coco Live to Picture for 2 months all across North America. So then it was time to say goodbye to Berkeley and go on tour. So I did that this fall, and then when the tour ended, I got relocated in Los Angeles. So I'm like actively working as a film composer, conductor, arranger, pianist, whatever I can find in music that brings me joy. So that's kind of the story.
Wow. That's a lot. And a
I,
lot of traveling
me
and
too.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
I love to hear a little bit more about your creative process. How do you approach writing and producing and composing? How do you go about it?
I mean, generally, I work on media projects that have a story. So my creative process comes from the inspiration that comes from the story. And honestly, it's like very freeing because you have limits. So you don't get choked in different possibilities of like, oh my God, like, do I want to make this orchestral or pop? Or like, do I want to write about heartbreak or this or that? Like, what chord do I want to use? There's kind of none of it because when you look at the picture, and when you speak with the director, like they tell you what they want for their project. So then you can instantly get creative without having that initial brainstorming. So it's actually like very quick paced. And when I do music for myself, which is sadly like not that frequent because I'm generally making things for others,
Mm.
um, I don't know, I take subjects that are most dear to me or that I'm feeling the most emotions about. But it all starts by me being in my workstation, working with my keyboard. I'm a pianist, as I told you, so like I love doing my sketches with the piano sound. But if for whatever reason piano doesn't inspire me that day, like I would move to starting with strings or starting with an electronic patch, and I would also like get the help from the sounds to inspire me. Um, and then like I don't know how the actual creation happens. It's like a blur.
And you
Uh,
record it right into like Pro
yeah, I
Tools
recorded
or
in Cubase.
Cubase.
Um, I used to be on Digital Performer, and then after Berkeley, I switched to Cubase because that was the hip program in LA. But I use them all. Like if I have to use Pro Tools, I have it. If I have to use Logic, I have it. Once you know the concept behind the digital audio workstation, you can kind of use them all. So. Yeah.
Cool. So you layer different parts on top of each other, and then eventually it becomes a creation, and you
Yeah.
mix it and you master it, or you sometimes you send it off to somebody else to do, or
Yes, it depends on the project. I'm not really confident in my mixing skills, to be honest. So if I'm like releasing a soundtrack album or if I'm working on a like big budget project, I would always prefer to work with a mixing engineer when I can.
Mhm.
But like most of the time in film music, sadly, like because dialogue and sound effects are more important in telling the story than music, they put us down volume-wise so much that like in the movie itself, you never hear it as detailed as you would hear the music alone. So those like little tweaks in the mix, like as important as it is to me, like at the end of the day, it's not really audible or it's not noticeable from the audience of a film. So if it's the independent film, like my mix is totally fine. And I kind of mix as I go because like when you add effects or like put instruments in a space, it also affects your creative choices in
Mhm.
writing. So
Yeah.
I think like writing and mixing to my liking happens at the same time. But obviously like there are people who study just this, which I respect so much. So if I can afford to work with one, I always work with one.
Right. And then sometimes after you compose that all, it's in your computer, then you have to write lead sheets and scores, right?
Yes.
If there's actually a real band or
There is
orchestra.
exactly. If there's a budget to record an orchestra, which is sadly not that common, then I put it in notation after I get the approval from my director on the audio that I create within my computer. And I tend to record soloists. Like I really love recording violins or flute or cello on top of a score. It like breathes a new life to it. And I very rarely recorded orchestras, and I used the FAMES project from Macedonia, which is a remote recording option, and it's cheaper than recording in LA. So yeah, like I do that when I can,
So you
but
send it off and they record it and they send it
yeah,
back.
yes,
So
and
you're not
I would.
even conducting it, or you
I'm not
are.
even conducting it. Like this is a pre-existing orchestra and you can choose the size of it. You can say, I only want to record strings or I want to record full
Oh.
orchestra. And they have an in-house conductor. They work with them every day. They know them really well. And actually he communicates to the orchestra in their language, but communicates to me on Zoom in English. And then we use a software, or not software, like a website called Audio Movers so that the audio quality is way better than Zoom and there is no delay and I can hear it literally as if I was in the booth in the studio there. So
Mm.
it's very convenient.
So you're actually there
I'm actually there and
online.
I'm giving
Huh.
feedback and I'm like, let's please try these bars like more mezzo forte, whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a part of it. I'm a part
Okay.
of producing the score, but I'm not physically there.
Oh, that's so cool. So tell
Yeah,
me a little bit about working with Disney because that was a real or that was a tour. So yeah, you're on
that
the
was
road,
great.
right? So that's a
I was
whole
on the
different
road.
job than just composing them.
Yes, and I fell in love with it at a dangerous level. So
Uh-oh.
now moving forward, I don't want to just be a composer, and I also want to always conduct, because it's so interesting. I mean, I'll tell you more about working with Disney, but there's a huge separation between being a composer and a conductor, because
Mhm.
when we do film music, we're in our like little studios doing revision after revision, all by ourselves until we can reach that point of recording with an orchestra if there's even a budget.
Mhm.
And by the time the movie comes out in theaters or in festivals, we have already moved on to other projects and we don't have time to go see the screenings. So we never get that reaction from the audience, which is really sad. Like we don't know if our music moves them. We don't see their smiles or tears or whatever. But like when you're doing concert work as a conductor and like people want to meet you and tell you how much they were moved, like even though I wasn't the composer on Coco, I have seen like so many, especially Mexican people come to me like in tears, like, oh my goodness, this was amazing. I didn't know this was possible. Thank you so much for coming. I have never thought that I would meet a woman conductor. Like this was wow, wow, wow. So seeing that or like having the children run to the stage when the show is over, like to shake your hand or like give you a fist bump, it's so, so, so beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, Like it's a whole other level of joy and energy and communication. So yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna go back to just being a composer. I never want to. But in terms of working with Disney, um, I mean, this wasn't my first project with them. I was the assistant director for their a cappella group, Di Cappella. I arranged songs for their peaceful piano playlists on Spotify. So I arranged 10 Disney songs in a way that it's pianistic, and like some of them were more lullaby-ish, some of them were a little bit more virtuosic, but it was all piano driven. And then when Disney Plus got launched in Turkey, I got to orchestrate and arrange a like 10-minute medley consisting of different Disney, Pixar, National Geographic, and Star Wars projects, and then also perform it on the piano with Istanbul Film Music Orchestra. So like I've been doing work with them, but never to the like conductor capacity of having the power. And it was really fun. Like I love everyone at Disney Music Group and the orchestra we worked with, because Coco takes place in Mexico. We wanted the musicians to also be authentic, so they hired an orchestra from Mexico. They're called Orquesta Folclórica Nacional de Mexico, and actually half of them did not speak English, and the half that could speak, some spoke well, some did not. Um, and at first, I was kind of freaking out because it's my first time going on tour, first time really getting a professional gig as a conductor, and I'm not even sure if I can communicate with the musicians.
But they
Um,
didn't have a conductor since they're already an orchestra?
no, they did not. Or even so, when they do performances in Mexico, it's very different than US. Like they don't really rehearse. It's very improv based when they play folk songs of Mexico, because this orchestra specifically works with the ballet that they have there, Ballet Folklórico, which has been existing for like 63 years or something, but it's not the same music field as here. Like it's very
Uh-huh.
different. So yes, they have a music director, but he never conducts them, let alone conduct live to picture.
Yeah,
So that's why they
that's a
found me.
different game too. Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, it's more easy or easier in a way, because I feel like if I were to go conduct concert music and do like Beethoven and Mozart and Rachmaninoff, whatever, all the listeners that come, like they would attend the concert having listened to bajillion different performances or recordings of it. So I feel like they would be more judgmental, and like they would really come to see what I would bring that's different. And I don't know, there's like centuries worth of knowledge and different artistic versions of it. So I think like that's the thing I'm currently like afraid to get into. But when you conduct live to picture, they're coming to enjoy the movie. Like the movie is the star, and we're just helping uplift them further. And I do love kids, so the fact that the audience was like 50% or 90% kids, it was so nice to me, and nobody was there to see how I'm doing. I was just there to
Be
help
part
them
of it.
experience it
Yeah.
in a new way. And I found that to be really advantageous for my first conducting gig. Like I never got nervous, which is wild. I thought I would be so nervous. Um, so yeah, I'm so grateful for this experience. I hope I get to do it again. We also did some school shows where we were not in a school, we were in the concert hall of whatever city we were in, but they made a deal with some schools, and students come at 10 a.m. from like three, four different schools. So the audience was literally like 2,000 students and 20 professors or something like that. And the energy, I can't even tell you, it was like a rock arena concert. Even though it's 10 a.m., before even we hit the stage, the kids are like yelling, call, call. And then the last 10 minutes of the movie, they're watching it as if like guys are watching a soccer game. They're standing up in their seats and like yelling and shouting and laughing. The first time we did it, actually, the whole orchestra and myself, we were all in tears because we were so moved. So yeah, dying to conduct again.
And then, so practically, do you get cues? Because it has to go right, like together with the movie, right? So if you're
Yes,
slightly slower or slightly
exactly.
faster, then so do you have a visual or do you have like an
I have
earbud
both.
or?
So what we had is the audience is watching the normal movie, and
Mhm.
in front of me there is a way smaller screen that the audience can't see, but I can see perfectly fine. And we would angle it in a way that it wouldn't distract the audience. And in my movie, so it's the same movie that they're seeing, but on top of it, we added visual cues that would show me the tempo, like when the cue starts. So cue is what we call any musical piece in a movie or TV series. So I would have different colors for the beginning of the music, the end of the music,
Mhm.
and I would have like a popping thing on my screen sometimes at the beginning of a section. And on the top right corner, I would actually see what bar and what beat we're on at any given time, so that
Right.
if the orchestra gets lost, I can yell out to them. Because I also had a spy mic that wouldn't go into the house, but that would go into their in-ears. And we also had click. And if there's no music, which honestly wasn't too much, like I would have a countdown of how many seconds left until I have music again, because like
Uh-huh.
sometimes there would be technical difficulties and I would, or like technical errors, and I would have to like speak to the mixing engineer to ask for an adjustment. And I wouldn't do it if I have like 3 seconds left for the next music, but I can easily do it if I have 25 seconds left into the next piece of music.
Right.
So I think it was like very easy to hit it. And it's something I took classes and workshops on, and I have done it before in college. So for
Yeah,
me,
you took George Monster's class.
yes, I
Yeah,
did.
me too. Oh my God.
You
He's
took it to me hard.
what that was a really fun class with the
Yeah,
dots and you have to wave your hands and make sure you're in time with the picture. Yeah, I thought it was fascinating. And he's a very cool professor.
for sure.
Very
And
funny.
honestly, the most difficult thing wasn't hitting the picture and like the sync points. Like I always hit them perfectly. But the thing is, musicians are used to always evolving the performance. So they wanted to add things of their own. But because we're doing a movie, like it has to be like we can't do too many changes. The audience is expecting to hear the score. So of course they have some expressive freedom, but they can't add their own ornaments or they can't just get too soloistic because they're playing with a section and it's supposed to
Yeah.
all quantize and perfect and as if the recording.
They have
So
to
they
start
started
enjoying it.
yeah, like they started getting bored after maybe 10th show. Like I was still crying of joy. I'm like, oh my God, I'm conducting the Disney logo. This is the best thing on earth. But for them, they're like we just traveled 8 hours today and then did a sound check and only had a toast. We're on our grumpy day. Let's get the show over with. So it was hard to keep them engaged. Um, but like with
They
adding these,
wanted to speed
yeah,
up and you're trying to just make sure that they don't speed up.
yeah. But overall, it was just
Yeah.
the best. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Cool. I love to hear a little bit about like feminism and support of fellow female
Uh-huh.
musicians. Have you faced any stereotypes or biases, and how do you overcome it?
Honestly, like I think I face them because all of us do. But I have kind of decided to not be brought down by it. So like I can't give you an example of it happening right now because this is not something that I'm actively thinking on and like feeling sad about or whatever. Like when it happens, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I think the most thing that I notice is in our field in film music at the studio project level, so like Universal, Paramount, Disney, whatnot, like historically it's always been white men. So it is hard to break into like that level. Women film composers are existing a lot in the like documentary field or independent film field or in the short film
Mm.
field, but we're really trying to get those like top like high-end TV series or movies, and it is happening. Like there is a huge change, um, but like it happens with time, so it's not going to happen in 1 year or 2 years. But we're definitely in the process of making good change and making our names be known. And so I have been a board member for Alliance for Women Film Composers basically ever since I have moved to LA. And then for the past 3 years, I have been the secretary, so I'm in the leadership. So we're actively trying to create networking opportunities or educational opportunities for our members who are joining this field recently. This could be either students or this could be musicians who have bands or like who have been in the performing space, but who are now trying to explore the film music scene. So in my perspective, because I know so many women who are working in this field, I think it's very supportive. And like 99%, I think women are empowering women and helping women. Like there's this idea that like women tear each other down and like they're not supportive and they're selfish and they're mean and they're terrible. I don't think that's true at all. I have seen the quite opposite. I have gotten so many opportunities through other women. Um, and I'm so like happy to be in LA because I think because Hollywood is here, obviously there are more women composers here and more women in London, maybe also like Nashville and Atlanta, like where the cities have a lot of music and a lot of art. But in Turkey, there was like no woman composer ever when I was up and coming. I mean, I'm still up and coming, I feel, but when I was in high school, like there's no woman composer to look up to. But now, even in Turkey, there is like a few, but still better than when I was there. And there are also other organizations. There's Beats by Girls, and I don't know if you've heard of them. It's a global
Yes.
organization that has chapters in various countries, a lot of countries. So I'm trying to do collaborations with them. I mean, I don't know, like I love supporting women, and my family raised me in a way that I can do anything, and like being a girl is not a um disadvantage, not a error. Like it's fine. We're equal. And in music, it's something that we do with emotion, and women are known to be great at having emotions and being sensitive, and like it's the thing we're historically known for. So I strongly believe that we make strong composers because we feel so much, and I guess we talk so much, and like all these stereotypes, I think in my field it's actually advantages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love that. Yeah, thanks for that work you're doing. It's really, really great
Yeah, I
because we
love
have to
it.
change the landscape
Yeah,
step by step. So, yeah.
absolutely.
What advice do you've been teaching
Hmm.
different things all over the years, I guess. And what advice do you have start musicians that are starting out in the beginning of their journey?
I think there's no such a time as waiting for the perfect time. I have gotten a lot of opportunities because I was like reaching out to everyone when I was a recent alumni. And now I'm noticing that that courage like slowly disappears because now I'm always expected to be at a level and like be perfect and whatever. So like I can be more hesitant before I reach out to someone and think like, oh, like let me wait for this other project to also be out so that if I have one chance of contacting this person or company, like I'm more prepared. So like I put more thought in it. But if
Mm.
we put more passion into it, I think that helps us not lose opportunities by waiting for the right time. So I'm giving that advice to myself right now and also to my students. And at the same time, like, I think every artist has a little bit of imposter syndrome, no matter what, or like no matter how we don't want to have it.
Mhm.
Um, but we shouldn't let others or mostly our own selves bring us down. Like every day might not be the best day to create, but that doesn't mean like you're a worse composer. No, like it's a muscle that we train, or it doesn't have to be composing, it's for performing your instrument. Um, we might have ups and downs, like nothing in life just goes up, 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 up. And I have so many rejections too. It's just that the world doesn't see it. Um, so yeah, like I think we should always look at things with courage and excitement and not be sad by our failures. I read an article, I can't remember who wrote it sadly, but an editor, like who's in the journalism area, wrote it. Basically, she's going for 100 rejections a year at least. Because if you go for like 3 wins, obviously you're not going to get 3 wins. You're going to get maybe one win and two losses, or two wins and one loss. But if your aim is to get 100 rejections, you get like 55 wins in that journey. So I thought that was a brilliant advice. And yeah, like that's what I'm trying to do in my life too.
Aim for the losses. Yes. Well, you take more action, right? Because
Exactly, yeah.
you're not afraid to make a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely in terms of taking action, like we should not wait for others to open doors for us. We should
Mm.
go knock on all the doors and see which one's open. And if there's not a door for the thing that we want, we should freaking go build that door and the wall that surrounds it. It's been such an inspiring era, I think, for us to live in because there's so much change and there's so much openness for women or more like diverse people from all over the world. So we're seeing a lot of firsts. It's like always the first like Native Indian American who got nominated for an Oscar. Like that is so inspiring, even though I'm not an actress. Um, and like the first all-woman orchestra to be playing like this place. I'm like, that's great. I'm so glad like someone is making the effort and being the
Yeah.
first. So I'm constantly like fed by all these other artists who are being, what is that word? Trailblazer? No, did I say it right?
Yeah, I think that, yeah,
I
that
think
works.
so, yeah. So yeah, like I'm so happy to be doing this now.
Yeah. Awesome. I want to learn a little bit more about how you write something and then so it's starting out. So
Uh-huh.
most of the time, there's this film company and they say, I want you to write something for my movie. And then they pay you for your time, or they pay you for the project, or they pay you for plays, or
Um,
how did, there's different ways, right?
yeah, there's different ways. Generally, they pay you per minute of music. Because like someone can take 2 hours to write it or 8 hours to write it. So like they don't want to go into the risk of paying you by the hour.
Mm-hmm.
Or you negotiate a price for or, I mean, a fee for the whole project. But then you can put in your contracts like, okay, like this covers this many amount of music approximately, and then like two revisions on each. But like if you go past that, I'm gonna charge more. You can do that, and when you do it, it's great because they don't call you for 17 revisions. But if you don't, you might have to revise till eternity. And in terms of how people find me or how I reach out, it's been through different outlets. Like sometimes a filmmaker that I have previously worked with would recommend me to another one. So they would want me to score, and I would immediately become the composer on that project. But if I'm trying to get a project at Netflix or Nickelodeon or Disney or something, I would have to demo. So when I haven't written music for Disney animation yet. That's one of my biggest goals. But to get those projects, they send you a brief and tell you a little bit about the story and the characters and what the show is about and what kind of a music the showrunners are looking for. They send like Spotify links and be like, we want this, we don't want that. Create something inspired by this.
Mm-hmm.
And like once you do it, and again, different companies work differently. Sometimes they just ask for audio. Sometimes from the get-go, they send you like very sketch versions of the animation and you score two picture. And generally they send you three different scenes, not one. Like one is more action, one is more emotional, maybe one is more sad. Like so they want to make sure that you're the right fit. So like in addition to working on a billion projects at once, I also have to keep demoing so that I'm for sure having future projects lined up. So yeah, like the getting hired portion depends. And sometimes I get hired by directors, sometimes by producers, sometimes by music supervisors who are handling the cover songs that are used in the film or like the source music, which means if in a scene there's like a rock band playing and the characters in the scene are also hearing that music, we call it source music. Or like if there's a radio playing in the car, that's not something I compose. That is something that the music supervisors find the right fit
Right.
for and then do the licensing and like take care of the legal portion. I
Mm-hmm.
only do the background instrumental music that like where we get into the brains of the characters. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And then you hire the orchestra, or you sometimes just use electronic instruments.
Yeah, so that decision is generally made by the director and producer because of the budgetary reasons. Like you would be so surprised. There are such epic big TV shows and like not a single soul plays on it live. It's just computer.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I could pick my soloists or I could say no, I want to go with this orchestra.
Mm.
But sometimes at the bigger studio level, which I'm trying to get to right now, they exclusively work with some contractors. So then those contractors pick who's gonna record, and then it's not really up to me. Or like it depends on if the project is union or non-union.
Right.
I think there are different rules that come with it when it is union. And then the payment also goes up a lot for them because you're paying for the pension of the musicians, the health insurance of the musicians. So yeah, like that's the level I'm trying to get to right now. And my goal this year is to get a huge studio project, hopefully.
Well, you got some uh e- enormous success last year with you
Thank you.
wrote for what was it again? The
Wednesday?
Yeah, you wrote Wednesday.
I did the
Um,
arrangement of the song that went viral through Wednesday. So I wasn't the film composer on it,
right.
but I was the arranger of multiple cover songs that got used. And the one that got us the Grammy nomination was Painted Black by Rolling Stones, which
Right.
takes place in episode 1. So yeah, a lot of people saw it, which I'm cheerful about because none of my previous work has ever spread it that much.
Yeah, it was like, wow, that's so cool.
Thank you, thank you. I
Yeah.
still can't believe I worked on it. And I worked on it from Turkey during the pandemic in my pajamas. And like, I
So it
literally
is
had
a
to
while
make that
ago.
thing in one night. So me and Alana, another woman producer, she was actually the one who was hired to be responsible for all the cover songs that get used in the project.
Hmm.
And so her background was very like pop, singer-songwriter, EDM, but like more song based. And mine is more orchestral. And because Wednesday plays cello, and because we have previously worked on other projects, she brought me on board. So like in this scenario, I wasn't hired by Netflix or MGM, who was the production company for Wednesday. I was hired by her. So yeah, woman empowering woman.
That's how you do it. Tell me about other projects that you're really excited about, things
Hmm.
that you wrote or.
Yeah, like right now, one of the things that excite me the most is I wrote a concert piece back at Berkeley,
Mhm.
but I recently expanded on it and made it for a bigger orchestra and also made it longer for a performance in New York City, which is happening on March 12th, and it's for the United Nations. So because it's the like International Women's Day month, they're having this concert called Global Women in Music, and they
Mm.
commissioned different composers, different women composers from different countries to write music for this concert. And I'm like so honored to be a part of it because when I was in high school, I was in a um I don't know how to call it. Oh, student club called Model United Nations. So I used to like be a delegate and like go, I don't know, defend some environmental causes in debates, like acting as if I was, I don't know, Namibia or England or whatever. So like I was a little bit in that world. So I'm so glad that I could come back to that world just for like one day. And they're gonna also give us a tour of the UN, which I'm so excited about. Obviously, like I'm done with my writing. I had to deliver in December or early January, so it's not something I'm
Right.
actively working on, but they're rehearsing now. So they sometimes send me notes like, "Oh, like can we do this at bar 18? Like, how about we try this like this?" And I'm like, "Sure, that's okay. That's not okay." So I'm still involved. And other than that, I made a deal with a music technology company.
Mm.
They're called orchestral tools, and they create sample libraries that are orchestral sounds. And I will be creating original demos for them and also social media videos for them, like 2 videos a month or something. So I'm very excited to get to learn their libraries more because it's one of the like top-notch A-level incredible libraries out there. So very much looking forward to that. And
you're an influencer now.
yeah, kind of, I guess. Thanks to the Grammy nomination. Yeah, like I got
That's
to
amazing.
18,000 followers, and I guess I'm a micro influencer, or I don't know what I am. Uh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And then I have short films, some
Mhm.
Turkish, some student, because I'm very passionate about animation. I do a lot of thesis films for Ringling College of Art and Design. It's like the Berkeley of animation. So like all their students who graduate, like within a year, they find gigs in DreamWorks, Pixar, Disney, like all the companies that I want to work with ever. So I think I started this in the pandemic. Like first I did four student films for them for free, and then I kind of got famous within the college. So like the next year I got nine of them all paid. And it's actually funny, like sometimes a 55-year-old producer wouldn't be able to find you money, but then these students, because they get help from their parents, they're like, oh, like tell me your budget, it's fine. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Like, so it's great. Like I get to work on so many different genres. These are just like 2-minute shorts. Like some
Right.
of them are like Asian inspired action, some of them are 1950s TV sound stuff. Some of them are Irish and folk. So it lets me explore with so many different things, which is always great for me because then if a feature-length project of that sort comes to me to demo on, like I already have material that I can send.
That's right.
Um, so I don't know, I think it's a very good collaboration and they learn how to work with a film composer through me. And I experience like working with a director that doesn't necessarily know how to communicate with a composer. So yeah, it's really fun. I have two of them lined up for this year. So yeah, so many things going on.
So it's never that they use music that's pre-composed or
With animation, it's really hard to do that. I mean, they can, but I think with animation and action, there's so much going on, and like it's at such a fast pace that you have to always like change style or tempo or like something falls and something happens, and it's hard to mix and match and edit already existing material for that.
right.
So they tend to come to me more or other composers more because their goal is to use this animation to get jobs at DreamWorks and Pixar and Disney. So they also want it to be perfect. So like this senior project thing that they do, it's something that they want to invest in because that's the main piece of their portfolio.
Mm.
So yeah, we work together.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I learned a lot.
I haven't
Um,
heard about you too. Can I interview you on your podcast? Is that a thing or am I not allowed to?
I don't know. I think everybody knows me. No.
Wait,
Yeah.
tell me
No,
one
I
thing
mean
about this year.
the whole podcast is mainly meant like I felt like everybody's yeah, of course they're on the album and the name is in the book, the little thing that comes with it and the names are on the website and the bios, you can read them. But I felt like yeah, there's so many faces. Let me just feature all of them and I started interviewing yeah, I'm already at like 30 people, so there's 30
Oh,
hours. I
wow.
already like
This is
yeah.
like 2 seasons done.
Yeah, it's been a lot, but it's been so fun to just hear everybody's story and we run around doing our stuff and it's busy and everybody's in different cities and countries and yeah, so it's been
Yeah.
actually real fun to catch up and to listen to everybody.
Yeah, I love that through
Yeah.
podcasts, even catching up is productive. Like it's so efficient. It's so great.
Yeah, I went crazy on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
thank you
it's
so
been
much for
fun.
inviting me. This was so sweet and so
Yeah,
special. Because
yeah.
like you're a few years ahead of me, so like you're someone that I always looked up to. So the fact that you asked me to like speak to me, I'm like, oh, this is great. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, I don't feel that at all.
Really?
I look up to you. You're doing so great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, she's doing it. Yeah,
Thank you.
I wanna pick your brain on stuff. Yeah.
Pick my brain, it's yours.
Well, great to see you.
So great to see you too.
As I conclude this episode of ViviTalks, I want to express my sincere gratitude for joining me in this musical journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring the stories and experiences of the incredible female musicians on my album. To stay updated on our latest episodes, subscribe to ViviTalks on your favorite podcast platform. Connect with me on social media through Virunga, and please check out my album Typuhthâng, a musical exchange featuring 100 female musicians to empower female cacao farmers of Virunga State Park in Congo. It's about more than just music. It's about making a positive impact in the world. Your support is part of that journey, so thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, keep celebrating the power of music, and let's continue to amplify the voices of remarkable women in the industry. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep the music flowing. With love and gratitude. Till soon.